Ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome to Gashi's Kaiman TV. Rigathi Gachagua raised a very pertinent issue. He raised a very important issue about the quality of leaders that Kenyans elect. The kind of leaders that we have in parliament, that is the Senate and the National Assembly, and even in the county assemblies. Rigathi Gachagua specifically looked at Mount Kenya. And when you look at Mount Kenya, the caliber of leaders that we have leaves a lot to be desired. It is high time that we start electing people who knows what they are supposed to be doing in parliament. Because when you look at the kind of leaders that you have in parliament, other than just a few people like Edwin Sifuna and Babu Owino, the rest leaves a lot to be desired. You cannot compare the parliament that we have with the one of Paul Muite, Imanyara, Oregos, Kibakis, and so on and so forth. We need to have engineers as members of parliament. People who understand the nitty-gritty of the law, like lawyers. People who understand what is happening on the ground, like the doctors. People who understand the education system. They have been there implementing the curriculum, like teachers and teacher educators. Economists, like Mwai Kibaki. They need to be there. Because when you look at our country today, one interesting thing is that if somebody comes and he's a celeb, that person, that's a qualification because you're a celeb. Because you can be able to attract people. Because you're a musician, you're an artist, you're a comedian. And that is how some of these leaders came to parliament. Simply because they were comedians. Simply because they were artists. Not that they are very, very competent. When you look at the end results, when you see the kind of work that they do in parliament, also, there's nothing, there's no substantive motion, something that is progressive, you can say they brought to parliament, and now people can see the benefits of having celebs. We have been looking at people, when it comes even to nomination, there are some who were nominated to parliament and the Senate, simply because of their looks. You look at them, you wonder why. What motivated some of these party leaders to nominate some of these guys, some of these men and women? Because some of them, you just see them catwalking. You look at them, you look at their social media, you see the kind of things that they write. They leave a lot to be desired. And this idea of nominating people to parliament or electing people to parliament by just looking at their looks is something that we need to forget completely. Others, because they can be able to give money from proceed from corruption, they find their way into parliament. Now, when you look at, for example, Mount Kenya, this is where the problem is. Because as Gachagua was saying, Raila would always surround himself with very competent leaders, very intelligent lawyers, economists. That is Raila for you. And that's how he was able to build a strong party that right now that they want to destroy it. Look at somebody like Edwin Sifuna, a brilliant legal mind. There, the Secretary General, Anyang' Nyong'o, Orego. Look at these guys. These are the kind of leaders that Raila would always surround himself with. Now, I'm coming to Mount Kenya, whereby, because you are known to sell chicken intestines, yani, that's a qualification. Ati wewe, unauza ile matumbo ya ndani ya kuku. So that is a qualification. Because you are an orphan, or mtoto wa single mother, you know, they don't talk about mtoto wa single father, because the single fathers are also there. But I can say, this is where the problem is. Tunajua huyu nini, Huyu mtoto wa single mother, huyu alikuwa anauza mitura pale. We find people now wa mitura. Ati mwingine unapata wa mashukuru. Mwingine sijui wa nini, wa maombe. Mwingine wa mapobe. These are the kind of qualifications that Mount Kenya have been looking. And now when you elect such people, one, they are businessmen. With all due respect to businessmen, because we are many. When you look at these guys, when they go to parliament, they go to make deals. How do you expect somebody who was actually selling mashaba, for example, and then how do you expect him to do when he go to parliament? Do you expect that man not to cut deals? Because you see, nothing is going to change this puzzle. Now, again, when you look at parliament is where we need to have serious minds, brilliant minds. Because you see, when you compare our National Assembly with the Congress of the US, or the Senate with the Senate of US, you see there is a much big difference. Very much difference. Because you see, our parliament is the handmaid of the executive instead of the handmaids of the people. Our parliament is supposed to be supreme. In fact, should be more powerful than the executive. But these are, when you look at our, for example, our majority leader, a person who is supposed to be very powerful, a person who is supposed to be very, very influential, a person who should not receive instructions from the president. But look at our majority leader and our minority leader. They receive instructions from the president. That is the truth of the matter. Look at our Speaker of the National Assembly. Look at the Speaker of the Senate. A whole speaker kneeling to the executive. And the problem goes even to the judiciary. You know, do you know wakisalimia, anasalimia rais hivi. Some of them almost kneeling down. Yet, we have three arms of government, independent. The legislature, the executive, and the judiciary. But now when you look at the legislature, this is where the problem is. We have people with no ideology. We have people with no principles. We have people who wait for William Samoei Ruto to bring bills through his people to parliament, and they don't question. And that is why, remember, the problem of Gen Z came because of the caliber of members of parliament that we have in this country. Even when they're supposed to represent the people. They are supposed to oversight the executive. They are supposed to oversight the judiciary. But these guys, they are just there to please the executive. They're just there to please the president. They're just there to make deals. They don't represent anybody. And maybe I can ask at this juncture, are you satisfied with your member of parliament? Are you satisfied with your governor? Are you satisfied with your MCA? Are you satisfied with your senator? If elections were to be held today, would you take back them to parliament? Would you vote for them? Maybe you can name the member of parliament in your constituency and the governor, and you tell us whether you can vote for him. Bye-bye.